you have all these other franchisees. Oftentimes this gets overlooked, but you've got a whole group of other people running the same business day in, day out, learning from each other. It's a built-in mastermind. So you have this collective wisdom or where you can learn from others' mistakes or what they've done right. So that's one of the beautiful things of the franchise system. So no.
Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. I'm excited today. We got John in the house from Atlanta, right?
Atlanta, you got it.
Okay, cool. And what's awesome is your book, Non-Food Franchise. It's been on Amazon, helping out a lot of people. It's the typical, helping entrepreneurs and people really become business owners through franchise, and not all of the typical franchise that we all hear about are from food. So you've been in Inc. 5000 numerous times, as well as Inc. magazine, Forbes, Bloomberg, and overall you are the top 1% nationwide franchise broker, which is excellent. So I'm excited to hear how the heck you got started and this space in general. But for all the listeners out there, do you mind just giving that 30,000 foot view for us of your background and how we got here today?
Absolutely. So appreciate you having me on the show here. Like so many of your listeners, I spent many years in the corporate world and had a great run, very thankful for it. But always wanted to do something more entrepreneurial, wanted to build my own empire instead of someone else's. And it was about 9 years ago that I made the jump and had the opportunity to lead Shelf Genie franchise system as a service their president, custom pull-out shelving for your kitchens and pantries. And we had owners all across North America, and I had the opportunity to support them from our home office and, really fell in love with the franchise model through that experience. So I was on the franchisor side. I then bought multiple franchises myself on the franchisee side, and got good people running those today, and allows me to spend most of my time consulting and brokering deals. It got into this about 6 years ago on the consulting side, and really I'm essentially a real estate broker, but for franchises, and love working with individuals all across the country, helping them identify the top opportunities in their market.
I love that. John, how many franchise do you own currently?
Yeah, involved in 4 different businesses.
4. Okay,
Yep.
Cool. And what kind of time does that take from you?
At this stage, very little. Now,
Okay.
I never sugarcoat it. It takes work early on, right? And if business ownership was easy, then everyone would be doing it. So, it does take work, but it does provide that path to the lifestyle that ultimately, is possible. And again, it's not easy. I won't sugarcoat it, but it's very doable. And we have countless case studies.
I love that. How many years have you owned those 4?
Yeah. So I've bought and sold franchises, multiple franchises over the years. And so I've been a part of a number of different systems. So the 4 currently, I'd say the oldest one within that is 6 years old, 5.5
years.
Yep.
Cool. And then you have other partners in those?
I do.
Okay.
It's all but one of them. There's one where I'm a solo, but the others I've got partners, and each one we have arrangements where I'm not running the day-to-day at this stage. I've got others doing it.
I love that. And then do you mind sharing what those 4 are?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one is business that works in the asphalt and line striping space. So parking lots, non-sexy is the new sexy when it comes to business ownership. That's what I say. Another one, it provides temporary walls, like containment walls around renovation projects and construction sites, kind of an equipment rental type business, B2B services. Got the one that I'm individual on, business called Foot Solutions. It's custom orthotics and, insoles. We use 3D printing software to create custom insoles, for kind of catering to the older population largely. Yep. And then a business called Art of Drawers, which is very similar to Shelf Genie, custom pull-out shelving, started by the same founder, and, long story there of how it kind of got off. And on that one, I'm involved on the franchisor side. So like a larger shareholder on that one, and a little more involved from a strategy standpoint.
I love that. So overall, I would say, and I'm sure you could agree on this, but correct me if I'm wrong on anything, please. The last, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years it's kind of been more trendy, if you will, of people talking about the baby boomers and having old school businesses, very old school, not putting technology into things, having a good book of business, but looking to kind of sell some of these businesses. And so would you say there's more opportunity now or coming in the near future versus what we've potentially seen on the market in the past?
Yeah, I'd say so. When it comes to existing businesses, what we call ETA, entrepreneurship through acquisition, a lot of people are out there talking about that today. It can definitely present a good opportunity, and I'll touch on that in a minute. I'd say a lot of the valuations, we haven't seen as many companies hit the market as expected there because the valuations have come down a little bit because interest rates are higher. So people can't afford as much. So the sellers have held back. So, we'll probably see more of those open up. But what's interesting, I've got so many clients that reach out. They say, hey, I've been looking for existing businesses for the past 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Some of them have even paid someone to go out and look for them. They've been under LOI 5 times. The due diligence didn't shake out. I hear this over and over and over. And they say, I wish I just started with a franchise because I could have spent the last 3 years building a business. And I encourage my clients, hey, run the paths parallel. Keep looking at existing businesses. But no, that usually takes a very long time. You can go out and start a franchise tomorrow, get that going, and maybe you buy a business down the road. It's not that that's the only thing you're ever going to do, but what's right for the next season that you can build off of is how I encourage people.
Yeah, that's good. John, talk to me. Like, how did you get to this spot? Like, why franchise ownerships? Was there somebody in your family, mentor, somebody guide you like, hey, I just jumped into this and it worked out, and you were like, hey, let's try it? What did that look like?
Yeah, franchising I thought of as fast food. When I'd hear the F word franchise, you think fast food, right? And I just didn't know this other world existed. And what I found is more, that's what the path that most people are on. So it really stumbled into franchising through a mutual connection, and again, ran the Shelf Genie home office. And that's where I fell in love with the franchise model. Just saw how this shared system of support could create all these newly minted business owners from diverse backgrounds. They could come together under a shared system, and really fell in love with the franchise. So that's when the light bulb went off on it to me. And I realized, wait a minute, everyone else is also thinking franchising is just fast food. But what about home and property services and health and wellness and B2B services and categories that support kids or pets or seniors? There's so much opportunity out there that oftentimes people don't think about.
Yeah, that's so good. So you've helped out over 1,000 people come and go within the space over the years, 200 plus that have actually taken action and become that new franchise owner, which is excellent. That's real impact. Because just the domino of what that does, at the end of the day, that's huge. How do you help these individuals? Like, where do you find, is there a list out there? How are you actually doing? How did you become the top 1% franchise broker nationwide?
Absolutely. No, end of the day, I'm very blessed. More than half my business is referrals, and, I get introductions from a lot of different circles and part of different groups. I go on great shows like this, and people raise their hand and say, hey, we want to learn more. So yeah, I've never made a cold call in my life. I work with people that raise their hand and want to work with me. So no, and we have a great model. End of the day, our clients never pay us a nickel. We simply get a referral fee from the brands on the back end. None of that's passed on to our clients. So again, it's very much like a real estate brokerage model. But no, I think, I'm affiliated with the largest brokerage in the country for franchises. We work with over 600 different franchise brands that are looking to expand. We've done our vetting. And so I think people have a lot of confidence when they work with us, because if you go out there and just Google search, you're going to see a lot of noise. Every company is putting their best foot forward. If you see a top 100 franchise list, companies typically pay to be on that list. So it's just a PR move. So again, a lot of noise, and for no cost at all, you can work with us, and we take you through a very streamlined process. And I think just over the years, I've refined my process, made it very, very streamlined so that I could say, hey, Brandon, in San Diego, based on what you've shared with me, based on what I'm seeing in the market, I'm going to reach out to a number of franchisors. We're going to see who's available, who's looking to expand. I'll come back to you and say, hey, if I were in your shoes, here are the 10 I'd want to look at. You'd narrow it down to 3 or 4. I make the introductions. You have those conversations. I hold your hand through a very defined process, helping you get tons of information from different angles, talking to existing owners in the system to hear about their experience, really so you go in eyes wide open to making that final decision.
I love that. When it comes down to, and I'm sure it might be a combination of both, but say somebody wants to start up a new discount tire or something, right? I don't know if that is a franchise, but I would assume potentially. So with that being said, is that you're looking for a location to build upon, or is this you just take over somebody that wants to get out of the business?
Yeah, in most cases, it would be a new location. Now, as far as site selection goes, the franchisor's got a real estate team. They'll help with all that. They don't expect you to have any background
Yeah.
in site selection or build out of the space. It is interesting. About half of our clients are getting into things that don't require a physical location. No customer facing retail, but instead it's more of a service based, remote, work from home, out in the field. Things like in-home senior care or home services, property services, different niches like that. Some of these B2B services. So in most cases, it's a new location. Now, people would love to find more resale opportunities, but the challenge is most of the time when a franchisee looks to sell their business, it ends up selling to another franchisee in their system. They kind of get first dibs on it. So it never even hits the open market. So, the ones that do hit the open market are probably the ones that are less attractive, right? They've already been passed over. So I'd say 95% of what we do is new locations.
Okay. That's awesome. And then what is like trending right now? What's the most popular or that you can see in the future that's really going to make a great investment?
Yeah, I'd say the general thing that we're seeing are understandable cash flowing businesses. People don't want trendy. They don't want the next frozen yogurt. I'd say the most fashion forward thing, we are doing some med spas, kind of the longevity movement. That's really caught on. But most people say we want non-trendy, non-sexy, home and property services. We see a ton of smart money flowing in there, just everything from cabinets to floor resurfacing to, just so many different areas with them. Even things like pool cleaning or roofing. There are a lot of different niches. Insulation, that's a $52 billion a year industry. Most people can't name a brand of insulation. You got a great one in the franchise space. So that's a big one. Health and wellness certainly is top of mind for people. Like I said, categories supporting the pet industry, that's just going to continue to grow. All the studies show, things that support kids, the senior space, not just in-home senior care, but maybe it's senior fitness or, brokerage on the senior side for senior placement, things. So much opportunity. B2B services is big, whether it be everything from freight brokerage to industrial hoses to, I mentioned the parking to insurance adjustment. There's just all these niches you would never think about unless you saw them right in front of you.
Yeah, that's good. Is there common mistakes that you see frequently from somebody that's newer trying to get into their first franchise ownership?
Yeah, I'd say the first off, some people say, hey, I want to be passionate about the industry I get into. Others say, hey, it's all about the numbers. So I'd say it's probably a little bit of both, right? A little bit of science, a little bit of art into how you go into it. But I would say you really want to get to know that team behind the franchisor. That's going to be your business partner. So I'd say that's a huge one to focus on. I would say date around. Don't talk to just one brand. It's a good idea to compare and contrast. 90% of those that we work with end up in an industry that was never on their radar. So again, you want to make sure you go in with a wide perspective. Once you become a franchisee, I'd say that for those that may not do as well in franchising, it's oftentimes because they're not willing to follow the system. They don't have that humility to say, hey, I'm not the smartest guy in the room for once in my life, maybe, I'm going to follow the playbook. That's why you get into a franchise. So a good franchisor is going to let you innovate and try new things, but end of the day, you're getting involved because you want to follow the system, and those are the most successful. It sounds cliche, but it's true.
No, it makes so much sense at the end of the day. When it comes down to the pro forma and the projections of annual income, how accurate or off have you seen it over the years of being so heavy in this space?
Yeah, well, certainly if you're going to go start a business from scratch, you're just back to the napkin. Yep. With franchising, you've got what's called the FDD, the franchise disclosure document. It gets updated every year. Those things have to be audited. So, they're correct. End of the day, it's, but that's the historical performance of the franchise. Now, not every franchise gives the same level of detail. So you are still kind of filling in some gaps in some cases, but you have a starting point. And then in the exploration process, you get to talk to other franchisees and have calls with them, and they can open up their books and share as much as they're willing to. So again, you're able to get some other insights to help you build that performance. I encourage people, let's go conservative. Let's assume it takes a little bit longer than expected to get to where you want to be. Let's just play it cautiously and then overachieve.
Yeah. So always kind of, rounding up on expenses, rounding up on time, and then rounding down on the overall income that you're hoping to make from these investments.
Yeah, and oftentimes people say, hey, I'm making $200,000 in the corporate world. I need to make $200,000 in a franchise. Well, you're probably not going to in year one. Now, if you're the owner operator, by the end of year one, you may be at that $200,000 run rate, but it's important to compare apples and oranges and understand that you're also building an asset now, something that you can potentially sell down the road You're also getting tax benefits of business ownership. I mean, that's how the tax code was written, was to incentivize business owners, right? So oftentimes W-2 employees don't understand what the possibilities are once you start digging into the tax code. And so again, it's kind of apples to oranges how you compare them.
And then when it comes down to, like you mentioned already, with franchise ownership, obviously they have the playbook, they have the real estate team, they have certain guidelines that they aren't going to budge with. Like, this is what it is. And they have the team in place to be able to keep up with that brand. So does that go as far as employees as well and helping hire on? Or is that something that the new franchise owner is going to have to learn how to build culture, do hiring on, and keep, the good people in hiring on wise?
I would say you have training wheels. You're still riding the bike. These are your employees, but yeah, certainly they'll provide you with all the job profiles and salary benchmarking. And, you have all these other franchisees. Oftentimes this gets overlooked, but you've got a whole group of other people running the same business day in, day out, learning from each other. It's a built-in mastermind. So you have this collective wisdom where you can learn from others' mistakes or what they've done right. So that's one of the beautiful things of the franchise system. So no, with the franchisor on the sideline, you've got a coach. The better you do, the better they do. And, so they're incentivized to make you successful. You've got optimized marketing because they have large data sets to pull from, technology stack day one. So you're essentially starting your business on third base rather than having to start from scratch. And, I'll say this, Brandon, just like any industry, not every franchise is created equal, right?
Yep.
You've got good players that provide great support, and you've got ones that aren't as good. And that's where we come in and try to help.
Yeah, I like that. So you mentioned mastermind. Do they have certain industries, or are all franchises, like, do they have some kind of meetup every once in a while, or is it just hopefully you'll have the book that you can reach out to and network with and say, hey, I'm the new guy in town, and see if they're willing to actually network with you?
Certainly every franchise is a little bit different. When you go through the exploration process, you can talk to other franchisees and say, hey, what's your experience been of interacting with other franchisees? Again, that's the fact finding you can do.
Sure.
I'd say, like most things in life, it's kind of what you make of it. So if you get in and you want to totally stay by yourself, you probably largely do that. However, you have that ability to either connect one-on-one or potentially in small groups. A lot of times franchises do organize kind of, these mentor groups and small groups. You've got a coach on the franchisor's team that's working with you too. But yeah, they'll do built-in masterminds or a franchise advisory council. They want to get you guys working together.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's awesome. That makes sense though. When it comes down to just overall expectations on getting your foot in, because I think a lot of people potentially out there might think, well, I need to have millions and millions or something like that, until they start looking it up and realizing like, oh, I could actually start this for a heck of a lot less. What are some of the ranges, or as low, that you've seen in the past that somebody has actually, like one of your consultants has actually taken action on?
Yeah, certainly we have some clients getting into things well into the seven figures, but I'd say 75% of those that we work with from an investment range, and that would be your franchise fee, your startup costs, and several months of working capital. I'd say 75% of them are landing between $150,000 and $400,000. That's just kind of a sweet spot. Now, there are quite a few just north of that, and there are a few just south of that. I'd say probably even going down to 75,000, there are a few where you can get in for that.
Wow.
But I'd say most are between 150 and 400. And it's not that you're using all cash. Banks love lending to franchises, it's just more predictable. So SBA loans are incredibly common. Probably 2/3 of our clients work with those. There's also an opportunity to use what's called the ROBS program, ROBS. And that's where you take a retirement plan from a previous employer, you roll that over and you purchase the business with the retirement plan, and then you pay yourself a salary from that. So it's actually owned by the retirement plan.
So that's only for people kind of like a 401k or something.
Correct.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
And it's got to be from a previous employer. That's the one caveat.
From the new franchise individual. Whoever's going to get the loan, if you will, it's them, right? Their account.
Yeah, the franchisee's account, but it's got to be from their previous employer that they're able to roll that over from. And
so if they have it basically from the corporate world in the past.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. And then so you mentioned other alternative SBA loan and so forth. Are a lot of your clients going that route to finance and leverage as much as possible? And what does that look like for terms and conditions typically, just roughly?
Yeah, and so many real estate investors have been getting involved in franchising, and most of them like the idea of leveraging. So it is very common.
Yeah.
Probably 2/3 of those we work with use an SBA loan. It's just,
Cool.
and rates are around 10%. Which they're still sticker shock from years ago, right? But I think so. We've started to get used to that. We really haven't seen people slow down. They're still using these SBA loans at 10%. Obviously, the interest is tax deductible. You can pay them off early in most cases. Pretty straightforward.
With SBAs, we've seen plenty at 5% even, usually a little bit lower than the market in some cases. But are you still seeing roughly 10%?
Yeah, that's what we're seeing on the SBA. There are a few alternative lending programs that I had a client get in one recently where it's right around 8%, but not seeing 5%. Hell, even my personal HELOC we're at 7%. So
yeah. So that's it's based because on the business and so forth. What are they looking at as far as loan to value, and are they going off of EBITDA or what?
Yeah, it's similar to 80/20. So if you were 200,000 all in investment, you were probably putting in somewhere around, call it maybe 50,000, and then leveraging about 150.
Yeah, that's excellent. I love it. See, it makes it a heck of a lot more affordable to start a franchise than a lot of people are probably giving themselves credit for or realizing. Like you could have a business. How long does it typically take from the consulting start of like, hey, let me reach out to John today versus realistic time frame when somebody feels comfortable and confident to sign on the docs and take ownership?
I'd say on average right around 2 months.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. We pack a lot in
that.
Yeah, no. And we have some clients that will move even faster, but I'd say probably averaging 2 months. Generally, there are those that take a good bit more time than that. So we never want them rushed. The only thing is, word has gotten out. We've seen incredible interest in franchising. And if you look at Google search results, business ownership's at an all-time high from a search result standpoint. And so word is definitely getting out. Our biggest challenge is that good opportunities move very fast in good markets. So oftentimes our clients are up against other candidates in the system. And I'm calling the franchisor saying, hey, can so-and-so get ahead of this other guy for this market, for this brand? And so leveraging those relationships has come in pretty frequently lately.
Yeah, I like that. And the company you mentioned, you're a broker with, what is the company name?
Yeah, so Frambridge Consulting is my company, but we're affiliated with IFPG, which is the largest broker network in franchise network in the country. We work with over 600 different franchises.
Say it again, IFPG?
Yeah.
Okay.
IFPG. Yeah, International Franchise Professionals Group.
Cool. What else are people missing out on? Well, before we even talk about that, just talk to me about because there's a lot of people out there that I don't want them to think this is a magic pill, right? So when I do the full, do your own due diligence, do your own research, but a business is a business and a business is hard. Even if somebody gives you the playbook and say, hey, we've done it successfully 1,000, 10,000 times, this is still the playbook, and running a business, there's nothing easy behind it. So you mentioned in the beginning that, you have 4 businesses, and I wouldn't say it's on autopilot now, but it's not taking as much time and energy and efforts that it once did initially. What does that ramp up phase usually look like that you've seen in your experience? Is it 1, 2 years or longer of hands-on every day? Or obviously the industry is all dependent, but
so much is dependent on the business, but then also the team that you build around yourself. And I think this leads into a really good topic. And franchises oftentimes advertise themselves as semi-absentee or semi-passive or executive model. What those mean are put a manager in place day one, and you can be a little more hands off. That sounds great on paper, right?
Yeah.
I like to call it semi-involved because you're still going to be involved, right? And your level of involvement really comes down to who you have in that seat, who that operator is running the business, and how you've incentivized them. And now I've got countless client case studies. Half of our clients will actually run the business that way from day one, because if you have a good franchisor on the sidelines and you have a good operator, that franchisor is supporting them. They can be the go-to for a lot of the questions, carry that daily support water for you while you keep your job, let's say. However, if you don't have a good operator in place, then you're going to find yourself leaning in until you do. So I just always want to make sure that's clear. But franchising does provide that potential path for you to be less hands-on because they're providing support to your team.
Mm-hmm. And then, so for you, with the 4 that you own at this point, were you hands-on at all, or you put a good project manager in place?
Yeah, I've been more hands-on with other franchises that I've owned in the past. With 2 of these, they were actually clients of mine that said, hey, John, would love to get you involved in the business. So At this point in time, 2 of the 4 that I own are, ones that were from the very beginning, I was more of an investor.
Cool.
However, when I go back in time, yes, there have been quite a few that I've been pretty hands-on with.
Yeah. Yeah. You're getting wiser is what we're hearing, right? Like
That's
you're
right.
like, hey, I like that. What kind of goals do you have at this point for the franchise ownership, the businesses that you have? Do you plan on taking down more territory? Do you have the bandwidth to add more onto your portfolio?
Yeah, we recently took down more territory with one of them.
Cool.
Yeah, no, love the expansion behind each of these. They're all doing well. And, again, to reiterate, business ownership isn't easy. And there are times it doesn't work out. Usually work doesn't work out when you don't follow the system. I mean, that's, fortunately, there have been very few cases, but I have had a couple clients and it breaks my heart. However, I look at the success stories and the vast majority are thriving and doing well and coming back and buying more. So, no, what gets me out of bed in the morning, Brandon, is just when clients are coming back, buying more businesses, more locations, they're referring their brother to me. That just gets me excited because it's changing their families, it's changing their communities. There's a lot of meaning behind the work. So, I'm passionate about what I do. I know you're a big real estate guy, and a lot of the listeners are. I personally invest in real estate directly. I invest in syndications as well. Just had some buyers for Mountain House we're trying to sell back out today on the last day of due diligence. So it happens, but I invest in private credit, energy funds, crypto, all of that. So for me, I'm an all of the above kind of guy. I love real estate as well. I think business ownership fits very well into someone's portfolio, just from a tax benefit standpoint. I mean, from a potential earnings standpoint. So I love that. I love it all.
What have you jumped into any food ones? And I know your book is, not food franchises, but they say the food industry, it's crazy, it's chaotic, it's tough to say the least. You got to have thick skin for it, and it's either a rocket ship in the right direction or it's a missile in the other. So, have you ever had that or ever interested?
I've not personally invested, but I've seen a lot. And we've got nothing against the food guys. We love them. We need them. We support them. End of the day, my humble belief is there are easier ways to make money. There are opportunities out there that require fewer employees, less operating hours, higher margins because you don't have food waste, and they're less susceptible to consumer whims. Using frozen yogurt, that was big until it wasn't, right? And it's where most of our candidates like to play are things that aren't going to go out of style. They're things that are understandable, cash flowing. Not Trump.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. Cool. Anything else that the listeners should know about? I mean, the worst case scenario, if you mentioned there was a couple of clients in the past that it didn't work out well for them. They didn't follow the playbook or the location or whatever. What does that look like for them? What does that time frame look like of calling it quits and saying, hey, does the franchise take it back, or is it just a total wipeout? What does that look like?
In most cases, they're able to offload it to another franchisee, or they can sell it on bizbuysell.com, or there's a few different avenues, or talk to the franchisor about who's shown interest in this territory in the past I could potentially sell it to. So there's usually an off ramp. Now they may have to take a haircut on it if they haven't built up the business and it's not working, but there's usually an off ramp. Worst case scenario, they hand it back to the franchisor.
Yeah, love that. Cool. Anything else that we should know? This is excellent, by the way. So much knowledge for me. I love it. I know the listeners are taking a bunch of notes as well.
Yeah, no, I think we hit on a lot of topics. I would just say, again, there's no downside to dipping a toe in the water and exploring. I'm more than happy to share a free copy of our book. It's if you want to buy it on Amazon, all the proceeds go to Hope International, a great nonprofit that we support. However, happy to share a free downloadable copy. If you come out to our website, franbridgeconsulting.com, share your email address. We'll send you downloadable copies. And if you'd like to take a next step and book a call, again, entirely free to work with us. So I encourage people just get off the couch and get on the game, and you'll learn a lot if nothing else.
Yeah, let's go. And John, do you mind just sharing the website one more time?
franbridgeconsulting.com. That's FRAN bridgeconsulting.com.
Love it. Awesome. Guys, I soaked up a ton of knowledge. I got a boatload of notes right here. I'm sure you guys do as well. Look, John, is it okay? Is there any way for people to reach out to you, or just the website is the best?
Yeah, the website's great. Leave your email address. I see every submission that comes in, and my assistant will reach out and book a call for us. And follow me on LinkedIn as well, John Ostenson. They're on LinkedIn. Put out a lot of franchise-related content.
Cool. I love it. Well, thank you for your time today. A wealth of knowledge. If you guys want to connect with John, do so. I highly encourage it. Do your own due diligence as always, and become a business owner. It's not easy. It's not overnight success, but down the road, it can really bless you in so many ways, and there's many ways to do it. So look into those different options. If you guys want to get a hold of me, you can always do so on Instagram. It's Brandon Elliott Investments. Otherwise, our business page, Credit Counsel Elite on IG. And then if you haven't checked out our website, go to our website, creditcounselelite.com. That's creditcounselelite.com. You can simply book a call with us after watching a quick 5-minute video that explains more of what the heck we are doing, showing you business owners how to be able to get up to $500,000 with rates as low as 0%. That could actually be repeated every 6 months per person through the power of credit, and happy to deep dive and explain more. Otherwise, if you have not already hit that subscribe button to the podcast, what are you waiting for? This is your opportunity to do that right now. Hit that subscribe button. You'll get the newest notification every single Monday. After listening to a few episodes, leave that 5-star review. Greatly appreciate all the love. You guys are amazing. Keep it coming. We'll check you out next Monday when the next episode drops. Till then, God bless. Thank you, John, so much. Appreciate you.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining.